starting my week 2 recap off with a big thank you to one of my sweet friends and co-workers, Amelia, for getting me this cute little mug. It says the Malena edit on it. So now I have a fun piece to add to the desk setup. She is such a good gift giver, so thoughtful. Speaking of thoughts, I have a lot of them on this past week's games from Thursday to Sunday. Let's jump right into it. 5 quick points that I want to touch on before recapping the games that I watched. One, the injuries. I'm not sure if it's related to having no preseason, a weird off season, and things like that. Definitely one too many ACLs for, I think, anybody's comfort or liking, but that was really, really challenging to see this weekend, especially the 49ers getting hit so hard with those injuries. Another thing, Kansas City winning, but in a close game with the Justin Herbert-led Los Angeles Chargers. I think that's interesting to see because at least it kind of brought them back down to earth and back into the pack a little bit, so we can see some competitive games going forward as we head, into the thick of the season. Some players that I wanted to highlight. Aaron Jones is way too underrated. I had him in my top 5 running backs before the start of the season, and I am standing double firm on that. I think he is such a great addition to that Packers team. Really helps out Aaron Rodgers, and it's such a great chess piece. I think the big three, the 3 most important guys there are obviously Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and Aaron Jones. I really, really like him at the running back spot. They're going to have to pay that man. Stephon Diggs, a great addition in Buffalo, another guy. I put him as my 5th receiver in my top 5, which was weird and challenging for me to do. I got a lot of hate for it, but I knew there was a little spark. There was something definitely there, and I think he's been obviously helping out Josh Allen, who's also advanced in his skill set, and the intrigue around, I'm not going to call it a quarterback situation in Philly. I think that's way too far too soon. But Carson Wentz not really playing up to how well he can play. I'm interested if that kind of sets the stage for Jalen Hurts to be able to have a better role in this offense, and maybe a setup for him going forward. Very intrigued. I'm going to keep an eye on that. Let's jump in to the recap. My biggest takeaways from Cincinnati at Cleveland on Thursday night. I'm going to start with, I'm excited about this rivalry for years to come. I never thought I would be intrigued by a Bengals-Browns game, for sure. Like, of all the teams in the AFC North, I don't think any of us were depending on these 2 to give us great games. I think both running backs looked really good. I know Joe Mixon wasn't able to get going, but I saw so many sparks and so many great traits within his running back skill set that I'd heard so much about. So it was really cool to be able to see that. Obviously, him against a defensive front like the Cleveland Browns, it was going to be challenging to be able to get going. But they looked good. In terms of the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow looked awesome, but I also get why he's being so hard on himself. I think he did have some overthrows, some off-target throws. So once he really starts to find that fit in the NFL, he is going to be absolutely unstoppable because there were so many good things. Obviously, the poise, the just cool, calm collectedness to be able to handle these big moments. I'm so looking forward to what he's going to give us going forward, but I think there's a little bit more in him. I know what I saw at LSU, so I know that he can bring us that next level. I don't think the holes on their roster matched what I saw in terms of play in the best way. I think they played as a better team than what their roster says they are, so that's exciting. I think after one more draft, they'll be able to fill in some of those holes and look really, really good, obviously led by a guy that just definitely has the it factor. When we look at the Cleveland Browns, this was a must-win game, so I think I'm not praising them for a win over this Bengals team, only because if they didn't come out with a win, there'd be bigger concerns here. I'm interested to see how they look when they face now more competitive teams going forward. I'm going to just scratch off week 1 as they just needed to kind of get their footing. This was a win that they should have gotten, so I'm interested to see what they look like now moving forward. Hopefully we can kill the Odell Baker storylines of, do these guys have chemistry? And we can just start to look at, they have the talent, let's play up to it. This team should absolutely be in the playoffs, so I'm ready to see them there. The biggest thrill game of the week, the Atlanta Falcons took on the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. Let's start with the Falcons. That O-line that they invested so much in these past few drafts is clearly paying off. I feel like Matt Ryan had all day in the pocket to get the ball to a very great, like Calvin Ridley looking absolutely smooth and effortless out there, like he is not playing as a wide receiver 2 and he wants that wide receiver 1 spot. I think he's got to grow into it a little bit more with Julio Jones obviously being ahead of him, who made a costly mistake, but I think he gets a little bit more grace than we would give the average receiver because he is Julio Jones. And then that defense. I definitely expected them to play better this year, especially with Dan Quinn having fully handed over the play calling to Raheem Morris as the defensive coordinator there. They played strong down the stretch last season, and they haven't picked up in a way that they should in these first 2 weeks. Maybe we'll see more from them. And then on the Dallas side of the ball, Dak played really well. We do have to mention that messy first quarter for the offense as a whole, missing their 2 strong starting left and right tackle. So I will kind of maybe call that the cause for it, even though the line was not the cause for the fumbles. Let's just say they were kind of finding their footing. I do think they're going to have to play a cleaner game going forward in order to win the games that they need to win down the stretch. When we think of them playing a team like Seattle next week, that'll be a great test. And I'm excited to see Dak versus Russ, a guy that Dak Prescott is compared to a lot. In Russell Wilson, I'm very interested to see how they look head-to-head in a game that's not in the playoffs. I think we're used to seeing them in the playoffs, and that 3-headed monster at receiver, plus Zeke being back to old form. I don't know a defensive backfield that can match up to 3 really talented receivers like that and stop the run. I'm very interested to see what else this team gives us going forward. And finally, let's talk about that Sunday night football matchup. The New England Patriots took on the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. A little bit quieter of a game without the notorious 12 there making so much noise in the stands. I'm going to start on the New England side of the ball. Kyle Duggar. I did not know he returned punts too. Really interesting for me because I am such a draft nerd, and he was the buzz and small school name out of Lenore Ryan, this super teeny school. He plays safety, but he returns kicks apparently too, so I loved to see that. Cam Newton looks effortless in this system, just the perfect, I said it last week, and I think I'm just going to keep enjoying the chemistry here, the perfect match of run and pass. His arm looked great. I think it's 71.4% completion, 5 touchdowns and over 674 yards, or 674 yards through the first 2 weeks of the season. He looks cozy in this system, and it's going to cause me to say, guys, I know we call Tom Brady the GOAT. The man has 6 rings. I give him his credit. But can we maybe, is Bill the GOAT? Is Bill the real GOAT here? I'm just going to drop that. Take it how you want, guys. On the Seattle side of things, Russell Wilson playing like he is tired of being left out of the MVP conversation. This might be his year for sure. I realized I'm one of those people that underrate him because I like really electric quarterbacks. So think Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I just like high-flying, ridiculous plays. Russ does that, but in like a quiet, understated way that almost makes it look nonchalant. That makes it look like I could do that, but you can't. He's just so good. Perfectly thrown balls to whoever his receivers are. Very similar, I think, to Drew Brees, who, if he's not throwing the ball to Michael Thomas, I'm like, who is that guy? That's how I felt watching Russ last night outside of Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf. I just had no idea who the ball was getting to, but he was getting it done, I think that's the mark of a really great quarterback. DK Metcalf, speaking of him, playing the best cornerback in the league, like he owns this. I loved to see it, especially in his second year. I think that was so much fun to see. And of course, want to touch on Jamal Adams finding his fit in that Seattle defense. Looks like he's having so much fun out there. Disguising him in coverage is going to threaten a lot of teams going forward. I'm watching this Seahawks team, especially watching them because they're facing Dallas next week. That's it for my week 2 recap. I'm going to recap Monday Night Football, the New Orleans Saints at the Las Vegas Raiders. At the end of the week, I'm going to combine that with Thursday Night Football. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below some takeaways that you took from week 2, anything that you guys want to see upcoming on the channel. Thank you so much for your support. I will talk to you really soon.